And for those of you who have not met my wife, she's in the front row, and she is the most important part of our ministry. Paula, stand up. You know, I did this. There was a couple of times I didn't think that she was going to be with me. And in fact, I'll tell you that story. I wasn't going to say that, but I'm going to do it anyway. We were delivering food out to the widows in the desert, and when you're out in the desert, you gotta go on horses or wagons. So we were on horses, and we were about probably 2.5 hours away from any civilization, because these Bedouins and the oasis and so forth, they're not like driving next door. I mean, you go a ways before you get there. And so we were riding these horses, and I went on ahead to look at a best route to go, and then her horse was spooked, and so they don't have Western saddles over there. They got English saddles, so you don't have a saddle on, and so her horse got spooked and bucked her off, and she came off of that horse, and there was a rock outcropping that she fell on with her entire right side, and so but because we were so far away, she had to get back on that horse for us to get back into town, and so she climbed back on that horse, and the little Muslim boy that was helping her, he got an earful. Because every time that she went over a little hump or around a little corner, she would say, "Oh, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus." But we finally got her to a little clinic in a village, and after much pain, and this was an excellent and wonderful clinic back in Queen Victoria's day, and certainly not now. Cobwebs on the X-ray machines, and there was still blood on sheets and that type of thing. And so they looked at her, and by that time she was black from her breastbone to her backbone, and from her arm to her hip, just totally black. And they said, "You have a bad bruise." Obviously. We finally got her back to our flat, and she couldn't stand, she couldn't sit, she couldn't lay, she couldn't walk, there was nothing that without causing such severe pain. And the only way she could sleep was to kind of lean back against the wall. And that's the only way she got any type of relief to sleep at all. And she went through that for 4 days. 4 days. And finally, a doctor friend of mine, actually a pharmacist, he told me this. He says, "If you care for her, you'll get her out of Egypt. And you'll do it now." So we caught the next flight to Germany, into Frankfurt, Germany. And when we landed in Frankfurt, now they have a wonderful clinic in their airport, and we took her there, and they ran some tests, and come to find out, she had 8 broken ribs, she had a cracked pelvis, a blood clot, or 2 blood clots in the lungs. One of the ribs or 2 of the ribs had actually broken and penetrated the lungs. She lost 1.5 liters of blood, and the doctor said that she would not make it through the night. So they rushed her by ambulance to the University Hospital, one of the best pulmonary hospitals in all of Europe. It just happened to be there. And so to make a long story short, through surgery and this type of thing, she survived. The next morning, she was still alive. They told me she had a 15% chance of living. Then they upped it to 20%, then 25%, and on up. And when I called our sons in America and told them what had happened, and they flew over, and when they walked in, it jumped about 50% chances of living. But they eventually said that she would have to be on oxygen for the rest of her life. She would have to walk on a walker, and she would never be able to fly again. She'd never be able to really have a normal life, and that just needed to be prepared for that. And I was wondering, I said, with this prognosis, are we going to be able to ever get back to Egypt again? But one Thursday morning, when I went there to see her, she says, I want to get out of here. We got to get back to Egypt. I said, all right, that's it. God is doing it. God is going to continue it. And to make that long story short, she didn't spend 4 months in the hospital like they said she would. As you can see, she's not on oxygen. Since that time, she's flown at least 500,000 miles. And still ministering. And still trusting God. And she didn't go out of the hospital on a walker. She walked out. And she walked out 4 weeks later. And so God is still in the miracle working business.